My spiritual awakening really started in my understanding of astrology. I've always loved astrology, but the more I got into it, the more it resonated with me. And I was friends with somebody who was friends with someone else who was super into astrology. And he was like, she says astrology is more like a blueprint of your life or like your destiny. It's not like a coincidence that these are the characteristics you get if this is what's going on. So I started looking into that, and I had gone to a medium because my parents had been gone for so long, and I was in this, are they proud of me place. So I'd gone to a
Oh.
medium, and uh, he said things that were very triggering to me because I wasn't there yet, but I just filed it away. And I was like, I don't believe that. And it kind of pissed me off that you said that, but also I'm open. So I'm going to just keep it back here at the back of my mind. And then as I kept going, I understanding my astrology and looking at it as a blueprint, it made so much sense to me. Like it really laid it all out, and I could see each little piece coming together. And
Mm.
so it kind of restored my ability to have faith in something, because I was born and raised in Oklahoma, and we're very Southern Baptist here,
Mm.
and very everyone here is kind of a fundamentalist. I mean, like, you can't practice religion here without fire and brimstone and nastiness. I mean, really. So as I got older, I kind of shed all of those beliefs, and they didn't
Yeah.
like resonate with me anymore. And I just believed in nothing for probably 7 years or so. And that didn't sit right. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm comfortable with the word universe, but I really didn't explore it anymore. You know what I mean? I was like, I mean, something, but what? And so
Yeah.
astrology kind of just like, I was like, there's at least a path. I see a way forward. And so it was actually episode 4, I think 3 or 4 of my podcast. I had just done an identity audit the night before for like a new moon. And, they're like, write down everything that, you want your future self to be, what's different between who you are now and who this person is. And I was really hating on myself. Like, yeah, I gotta
Mm.
work so hard to be this person. And then the next morning I was driving, and it just hit me like, well, why am I working so hard to become only this like Zen Buddha person? Like, I wanted to be perpetually unbothered. And yeah, I'm serious. I thought that was the way. I did. I was like, oh, okay. And part of that's because I've been very reactive most of my life. And
That
so
is
my shame
so.
really lies in the fact that I was mean. I was
Yeah.
loud, but I mean, really, only with the people very close to me was I reactive. Everyone else got freeze or fawn. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to be Buddha up in here. No one's going to bother me. And I'm like, yeah, Buddha
Love
doesn't have
it.
any stress, man. Those monks, they don't have any stress. They're out there in the nature. What? And I also realized, like, I had just become really good at standing up to like toxic people, and really advocating for myself, for the people around me, whatever. And I was like, I kind of just learned how to hold this fire. I don't want to extinguish it. What am I doing? And it was in that
Yeah.
moment that I was like, I already am all those things. I am already all these things that I'm trying to be. I just need to be, like, unbecome a few things and like myself for who I am right now. That was the
Yeah.
beginning. That was really the first epiphany that I had. But that was like one, and then 2 hours later I'm getting mind-blowing, eye-opening, soul-stretching revelations about myself like every few hours for probably 2 months. Like, I was like, okay, we might be in spiritual psychosis, friends, because I'm a new person every 4 hours of my life. I don't know. It just, like, the more I was open to questioning why I was doing what I was doing, the more answers I got to, like, hey, you're on the right track. This is what we're supposed to do. Question yourself. Why are you taking everything you think, feel, say, do at face value? And just asking myself some really simple questions like, is it possible that you hate this about this person because you actually hate some part of that in you? That was a really big
Mm.
awakening for me. Understanding that we really are just mirrors for one another, and that you can't have people in your energy that aren't just like you, because that's not the way it works. So I spent a lot of time figuring out how I was just like everybody else, how I do the same stuff, I act the same way. Maybe it looks different, but our motivators really aren't any different. We're just trying to keep ourselves safe. And that's our subconscious, that's its job. So learning that really impacted me. Like, oh, okay. And that was kind of when I figured out, like, oh, I've been making myself a victim of circumstances for my entire life without realizing it. And that's something that I would have fought someone about if they had called me someone who likes to victimize themselves. Like, if someone said that to me, I would have been really angry. But man, it was true. It was true. I
Yeah.
felt like everything in the world was just happening to me all the time, and I just don't view things like that anymore.
Yeah. I love the way you explained that. And I love that for you where you are right now.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It is. It's listen, I'm not playing. I mean, I still have stress. I
Of
still will go
course.
through a bout of 3 weeks where I'm like, what am I doing? You know?
Yeah.
And then I just bounce back and I'm like, this is what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
we're changing the world, Melissa.
I love it. Oh, Melissa, that was so good. So I'm really intrigued about, what triggered you, if you're okay with sharing.
Yeah.
What was it that the medium said that triggered you about your parents? What was so triggering for you?
Um it was the idea that I chose this experience and that I chose my
Oh.
parents. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
I
a hard
believe that
one.
now. Like that's I the way I view the universe and our role here and what our purpose is and why we have this human experience. I'm aligned with that now, but at the time that was very foreign. I mean, I knew nothing of that. I Reincarnation was something I was familiar with, so I was very willing to lean into those ideals, but like yeah, and then even like a friend that I made on the podcast
Yeah.
who is a spiritualist really triggered me talking about victim consciousness. And so he'd always be like, okay, so then why'd you attract this experience? And I was like, don't ask me that. That's rude. I just
Yeah.
like those ideals just weren't familiar to me. And I was still pretty sheltered in any sort of spirituality. So I didn't
Yeah.
understand that was a really common thing to believe. And for me, it just hit me deep in my heart. I was like, that's rude.
That's a tough one. That is
Mm-hmm.
a tough one. I think that's one of the most challenging concepts that we have accepted, because like even when I first came across that concept, I was just like, what? Why the
Yeah.
hell would I choose this? It's shitty.
Exactly.
Nobody wants that.
Exactly.
Like, what are you saying?
But it makes so much sense to me now. Like
Yeah.
I had yeah, I had a medium on my show not that long ago, and man, I got so much healing from that conversation because I've actually carried a lot of anger about my grandma for a lot of years because she was very narcissistic.
Yeah.
And um she's never come through any reading with a medium, because that first one I went actually 3 times because I was like, oh, I was just like wanting to learn more, you know. And he was expensive too, but I was like, well, you know, we got to go see our dead folk. But this medium, immediately she's like, oh, your grandma. And I was like, that's interesting, she never pops through. She's like, yeah, it's always the one you don't want to talk to that will come through for me. And I was like, word, what she got to say? And she didn't say a lot, but what she said was actually about my mom, because my mom has always popped through very fast, which was surprising to me because she was the speak in tongues, dance in the aisle church person. So
Yeah.
I want you to know that. So I was always like, she's not going to come through, because I didn't understand what spirits were. So it was like, oh, well, she's my mom on the other side. So I was like, she don't like that kind of stuff, but she really didn't care.
Yeah.
So she was always first to come through. But what changed me deep to my core is when she said, yeah, it's like your mom. And see, the first medium said this too, but I didn't understand it then. He maybe used a little different language, but he said the exact same thing, and I didn't know what he meant because I
Mm.
wasn't familiar with soul contracts at the time. And so she's like, yeah, it's like your mom kind of just didn't pass the test here. And so now the help that she was supposed to like grow to get to help you grow through your mission, she can't do it on this side because she died, but she's still doing that on the other side. And he told me that too, but I didn't understand what
Mm.
he meant. So I was like, hey, okay, I guess. Um, but hearing that about my mom made me have that understanding about my grandma too. Like I can see in our astrology where like our, like we absolutely have soul ties, like absolutely. And
Yeah.
so it just made me forgive. For the first time I was able to just lay all my anger down and get to that place where I've reached with really most people of like love and compassion, because I can see how I've done those things too. I'm the first to get on here and say, like, I was a terrible mother. Was I the worst mother? No, but I wasn't like the best either. And I can
Yeah.
fully admit all the ways in which I've harmed my children, not physically, thankfully, but for me, the physical abuse left way less scars than the emotional mental abuse,
Yeah.
So I'm not going to pretend like I didn't make a lasting negative impact on my children. I work really hard now for repair, and I'm lucky they love me, they forgive me, whatever. But it still comes up a lot. And
Yeah.
so I kind of am able to look and go, yeah, I do that too, or I did that too, or I know exactly why a person does that. And I think that's really what's helped me the very most. That's what's expanded my consciousness the most, is every time I can sit and go, yeah, okay, well, I mean, I know why a person would do that. Does that mean I'm going to be around them anymore? Like I was just talking to my oldest, who's 22, the other day about a relative of mine. And I was like, ooh, yeah, they're a narcissist, blah, blah, blah. And I was just going off. And he's like, yeah, but weren't they raised by so and so? And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I was like, no, you're so right about that. And actually, I feel really sorry for this person because I know that they really do have so much good in their heart. And I know what narcissism is. It's just the inability to develop emotionally. So, like it's not a bad intent. And I feel like we misuse narcissist a lot because we'll just label anybody. That there are some sociopaths, guys, like that aren't,
Yeah.
like just a
Yeah.
narcissist. And I overall, I just view, like I almost have a good sense of what age they got stuck at whenever I'm around somebody who's that emotionally stunted. And so like when I work with clients, I'm like, okay, but imagine them as a 10-year-old boy. Like what, like does that change the way you feel about this at all? Wouldn't this be how a 10-year-old boy would respond? Not because I
Yeah.
want people to get over things or allow things. We have a tendency to make ourselves believe that other people's behavior has anything to do with us, and it just doesn't. So I try to get
Yeah.
people to a really empowered place, like love yourself, have compassion for yourself, and everything that you do should come from that place, not spite, not hate, not anger. I mean, there's a place for anger, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
love
Of
is
course.
the highest frequency in my belief, along with gratitude. So
Yeah.
just loving yourself. I also found that that is the only true love, is this love that you can cultivate within yourself and then you can share it with others. Because I was a person spending my entire life trying to get the feeling of being special, that I was chosen by people. And yet
Mm.
I felt on the periphery of every relationship that I had. And like I loved everybody more than they loved me. And I was
Yeah.
nobody's person. And I wasn't the special one or whatever. And then when I really started to pour into myself and feel that love for myself, then I could receive, because it was only ever a projection of the way I felt about myself anyway.
Mm. Yeah. So profound. So profound, Melissa.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's truly amazing how our perception can shift when, as you were saying, you mentioned the victim consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody likes to hear that, and nobody likes to admit how much we cling to that victimhood. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
unpleasant things happen to people all the time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it sucks. And it's okay to be in that state and experience the grief of that. But yeah, like when we kind of take that and then it becomes our identity. And then
Mm-hmm.
we use that as like a crutch for everything that we do moving forward. Then that's just like a whole different thing that we're creating. And it's just, yeah, to be stuck there is
Mm-hmm.
it's really something else. And I understand the challenge of coming out of that, you know. But yeah, and it's yeah, as you said, it's not easy hearing, you know.
No, not
It's
at all. I
not.
mean, I was like, well, we're not gonna be friends anymore. But see, it almost
Yeah.
helped me because that's one of the biggest ways that I was victimizing myself without realizing it was
Yeah.
I actually found that I have pushed everyone away my entire life. I've kept
Yeah.
everyone at arm's length. I didn't understand that on a conscious level because on the outside, what you'd see is a lot of trauma dumping, a lot of people pleasing. So anything you need, I'm gonna be there, making sure that you need me so that I can feel good and so that you think I'm a good person because perception was the only thing I cared about. Also, subconsciously, I mean, none of this was anything I was aware of. And I thought I was the most self aware person on earth. Okay. It's embarrassing, actually. It really is. Sometimes I cringe because I'm like, oh, that's so. And even in the last few months, the way that I have noticed pushing people away or victimizing myself is well, the reason my show is called Emotionally Unavailable is because I learned I'm very emotionally unavailable, and then I learned we all are until we figure it out. And
Yeah.
so um I kind of realized that one of the reasons that I didn't share anything vulnerable in real time, like I was kind of the isolate until the problem was over. Maybe it'd be a week, maybe it'd be 2 weeks, whatever, and then be like, oh Lord, I mean, I almost died last week. It was so rough, but I could say it like jokingly and just be very comedic about it. And I retold all of my trauma like a stand-up comedian. I mean, in fact, it was my goal to go and do that on a stage at some point because I had no connection to those stories. Now it is tougher for me to relive some of that because I'm very connected to them. Not that it's like a problem, but there are times like if I'm giving a talk or whatever that I can get kind of emotional about what I'm saying, and I'm also not embarrassed about that anymore. But
Good.
I just realized I wouldn't share my stuff in real time. So I've started to do that because it's a practice and I suck at it, but I'm getting a little better. So I'm working on sharing the stressors. And then when I do, someone pisses me off because I don't like their response. And what I figured out is every time it was like, this is the exact reason you don't share. But anytime I tell myself something, this is exactly why about anything, I now know that is like my trigger to stop and figure out what was I thinking, because that is confirmation bias every time. Like I'm
Yeah.
figuring out how I've been lying to myself my entire life, telling myself if I tell people things I'm unsafe. Like, yes, it's a trauma response to not want unsolicited advice. If you're not aware of that, just know it is. It's okay. It doesn't make you a narcissist. It doesn't make you a bad person. It's a trauma response. Now, the next step is learning how to take the advice. Whether you wanted it or not, it's not about taking it, it's about hearing without erupting like a volcano, which is kind of what I would do. You know,
Yeah.
that was my reactivity. I didn't know how to handle those triggers. And now, like, I would be like, people need to stop saying this or don't ask me this because then I'm in a position to have to say no. And I don't want to say no. All because I was so bad at boundaries and also like being the container for myself to handle those triggers. I would blame everyone else around me. That's another classic example of victimization. Like I'm a victim because somebody asks me something or someone gives me unsolicited advice. No, what can I do? If it's like absolute crap, because maybe I just experienced a loss and they told me, they're in a better place. You can say whatever you want to someone who says that to you, but like it's my job to say something at that point, not walk away and then start pulling in every ounce of negativity that I possibly can to give me the street to never talk to them again, because that was what I was really classically known for, was just you out. We're not going to
Yeah.
have a conversation. Well, because if I had ever had a conversation with someone, about feelings and they didn't respond well, that was it too. No, I'll just never share again. Blah 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 blah. And now I have so much more grace because first of all, do you think that I handled anybody telling me that I hurt their feelings very well? Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
Handled it just like the other people did. So it's like a full circle moment where I'm like, okay, it's my job. It's my job to tell them I don't want them to say it or just be chill or whatever. Just like when someone else comes to me and they say something to me, I can say to them immediately, yo, I'm going to do my very best to receive this in the way that really honors you, but I'm also human. And so just, I'm going to ask you to give me some grace if I don't respond to this perfectly. And giving myself the option to be messy and to just figure this human stuff out anytime it happens, I can give that to others now. And so, whereas before, if somebody didn't handle me expressing a feeling to them very well and I'd cut them off, now I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to give you a minute to just like come back down and understand I'm not attacking you. Especially now, the way I communicate feelings really is like, this is what's coming up in me. That other person doesn't have any responsibility in this. I'm talking about the normal everyday stuff. I'm not talking about, the outlandish abusive stuff. I'm talking about how I walked around feeling betrayed at all times and put that responsibility on other people. Like, you betrayed me. And now I understand, like, no, I just felt betrayed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The growth, huh?
Yeah. 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 When your paradigm just completely shifts like that, it's so much more peaceful because you're not taking every single thing personally.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. Wow. Okay, so there's just so many ways to go with this. Well, first off, what do you think, when we're talking about astrology in the medium and soul contracts earlier, what do you think was a part of that soul contract? Like why you went through all of that? Why were you here to learn? Like, and what are you supposed to do with that from your perspective now?